Hello and welcome back to Red Panther Destiny, where we are covering Two of These People Are Lying by the technical difficulties found on the Matt and Tom YouTube channel. Link below, spoilers ahead. So, this episode has some interesting bits in it, so let's jump in. So, we have a positive for Gary's intro, as per usual, bringing us into round one, which is Ute Muster. If you know anything about Australian cars, that'll ring a bell immediately. So Matt claimed it was a model of Ford Ute. Just to explain, a Ute is basically a large full-size car with just has the front row of seats, and then the whole back of the car is just a pickup truck bed. Think El Camino. That's what everyone in America thinks it is, because that was the most famous one back when they made them here. But in Australia, they didn't stop making them until, 2-3 years ago? When they shut down their entire car industry. Well, I say they. What I mean is GM and Ford shut down the Australian car industry because they were the biggest manufacturers in Australia. So that was the end of that. So, I mean, to me, I was already calling bullshit because I'm like, Muster is not a Ford model. It's called a Falcon, and I'm pretty sure Muster isn't on the back of the trunk. But Tom is not a car expert, so he did not get that one so easily. So we actually ended up with, what does it look like? It looks like 3-4 positives before they got to the second explanation. First of all, Matt tried to do an Australian accent, and it did not go well. It sounded, to me, it sounded almost like a Midwestern American accent, but to them it sounded Irish, so it was a mess. Nothing like an Australian accent. It's pretty funny. Oh, you know what? These must be for the second definition. It's very confusing because the second definition was basically a Ute festival, muster being a lot, so Ute muster of Utes. So that they were pretty close together on this one, both being about Utes. But then the word is Ute, so what are you gonna do? And there was one bit where they were all sort of listening as Matt was explaining, and it's like, where's the joke? Where's the joke? Kangaroos. Oh, okay, there's an Australian reference. Then, so the muster thing ended up being described as budget Mad Max, which led to the line, it's not quite Mad Max, it's just very racked off Max. Very, oh dear. That's pretty funny, which leads to a joke about insulting Australians. It's like, we're sorry, Australia. Sorry about that. And then someone says something else, and oh, sorry again. So that's given us 4 positives from the Ute thing. And then Chris said it was a Latin society. Fake Latin society, I think. People who don't actually speak Latin, but are gathering together under the guise of speaking Latin so they can drink copious amounts of alcohol. I think it was intended to be I want to say Renaissance, in the period where Latin was dying out as a normal, everyday language. But that wraps up the Ute Muster round, which was pretty obvious that it was going to be a Ute. The Ute Muster, the festival was the true answer there. So round 2, the Windy City Open. Now this, I think, has led to probably the most you wish that was the real thing of the series. And that is Chris's suggestion that it is a rooftop mini golf tournament. So that's in Chicago. So every hole is on a different building. So you go around the whole, you spend the whole day, go around the city, first hole, on top of building A, and then building B. And it's just a great idea. It sounds really interesting. Not sure what the legality or the red tape you'd have to go through to get permission to do that. But I mean, it's only mini golf. It's not like you're doing it as Gary suggested, putting it from one building to another. No, you just play a little bit of mini golf. It's not nothing crazy. But so that was a crazy idea, and then somehow they ended up talking about skateboards, which led to this episode's title of Sir Tony of Hawksville, was sort of an 18th century skateboarder, and then so they're talking about uphill skateboards somehow, funicular skateboards, as being up on a steam tractor, being pulled up a hill, and then it descended into something else, which I'm not going to mention. And then the other two suggestions were an architecture tournament and a squash tournament. The architecture tournament, not very interesting. The only tidbit of interesting that was put in there was that all of the buildings submitted did not go through. I can't remember which one of these is real. It's either the squash or the architecture. They're both very plausible. Anyway, the squash... Actually, the squash does have a positive in it, now that I'm thinking, because they were mentioning how it was a middle-class sport. No, hang on. Upper-class sport, because to play squash, you have to go and find that little glass box room that they play in. Because if you've never heard of squash, it's like bouncing off of a wall. So you're basically in a cube. It's a lot like Tron, now that I think about it. But they were also talking about a game called Real Tennis, which was a precursor to what we currently play as tennis, which was played near a wall, I believe. It sounded like you have to play it next to basically an abbey or a great house with curved walls and stuff, because for some reason it was a game dreamt up by upper-class people. So you have to have the right building to play it next to, or it doesn't work. Which is very, very upper-class game, if you have to build an entire building just to play it. But, yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, the standard positive... I broke my paperclip. The standard positive for the lack of outro, which I'm guessing is now their outro. I mean, this is season 3, and they still haven't found an outro yet, so it's just how it is now. So I do hope you'll join us next week on Monday for the next episode. We only have 2 more of these left, at least until they do some more episodes, which they do 2 seasons a year, so maybe in a few months a new one will come out.